continuing on with our practice of some SAT function questions, let's take a look at this one. Okay, so we have this long list here. Each calendar year, a certain credit card gives cardholders 5% cash back on gasoline purchase up to $1,500 and 2% cash back spent on gasoline thereafter. And then they define the g function, g of x, and the e function represent that was awful. Sorry about that. Let me do that again. Oh gosh. There we go. Okay, represent the cash back earned on gasoline purchases up to 15 and in excess respectively. Okay, so then they want to know which of these functions would match this. Well, let's start with what we know. We know the first thing is the g function says we get 5% cash back on gasoline up to expenditures up to $1,500. So let's just look at this for a minute. Okay, so all of these answer choices that we have, g of x, they say all of them 0.05x, all those are identical, right? And that should hopefully make sense. If x represents the amount of money that we're spending, if we get 5% cash back, 5% is just 0.05, right, as a decimal. So all that works. Okay, but what's the difference between any of them? Can we eliminate anything? Well, it looks like we can get rid of the first one, because notice this. Notice it says anything from 0 to less than 1,500, but all the rest of them are say less than or equal to 1,500, but it says up to 1,500. So that means we know that can't be right, just right off the bat. All right, so it's got to be one of these three here. Okay, so that all of those functions are identical with the g part. 5% when x, the amount of money being spent, is in between 0 and $1,500. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. We get 2% cash back on any amount spent thereafter. So in other words, if we spend any amount of money after $1,500, we get 2% cash back on that amount. Well, then what could we get rid of here? Let's see here. All of them have 0. I messed it up again. Hold on a second. All of them have 0.02x, right? Because it's 2%, 2%, 2%. But then we have these different variables here where x, what does this mean here? Okay, let's start with the first one. It says we get 2% back when x is greater than $1,500. Okay, so long as x is greater than that. Okay, well that seems to sort of fit with what we were talking about, so let's put a pin in that one for a moment. Then what about this one? It says we get 2% back when x minus $1,500, and this one's $1,500 minus x. Well, let's just think about this for a minute. Okay, this is where we have to kind of plug in some numbers. Let's suppose that I spent $2,000 on gas. Okay, and I recommend this with the SAT. It was awful, but you get the idea. With the SAT is pick a number. Okay, so let's think about what my cash back would be. Is I would get $1,500 of that would be at the 5%, right? We know that already. We get 5% back when we spend up to $1,500. So then the remainder of the money that I spent, the $500 left, would be at 2%. Hopefully this makes sense. Okay? So then let's think about this. So in other words, if $2,000 is equal to x, which of these formulas is going to give me $500 at the 2% rate? Let's see. Look at this one. It says, well, this one says if x is greater than $1,500, just 2% of whatever x is. Well, that can't be right? Because, for example, if we spent $2,000, well, that's greater than $1,500, but that would mean we would get 2% back on the entire amount, right? But that's not what we said. We only get 2% back on the $500. So this has to be out. And then same thing, look at this one for a minute. If x is 2,000, $1,500 minus x, that would be negative $500. Well, I mean, that would essentially mean we're losing money, so that can't be right either. So that has to be out. Then finally we have this one. It's 2% of x minus $1,500, which if we plug in the 2,000 for x, right, we get 2,000 minus 1,500. That is $500, which is exactly what we should have predicted. What we wrote out right here, right? And that should hopefully intuitively make sense, right? We only get 2% on all the money spent more than $1,500. So we subtract the $1,500 first, and then whatever's left over, we get 2% of that. Okay? So our answer choice is C. Let me pause this one, and we'll do another one.